God,
It's
what?
hectic.
It is, isn't it?
I don't know how you keep up every day. I think I've done well if I put a post on my community page.
Ah, I've seen you've been posting quite regularly this week.
It's
Your
low.
TikTok is running,
Yeah.
your YouTube is running. You're
Well,
good
the
to go.
community page is low hanging fruit, isn't it? The
Yeah.
community page.
The
Yeah.
community page has really, really
Yeah.
ramped up your engagement on your YouTube channel because the photographs and the messages you share have
Yeah.
got high engagement. I've
They
noticed that
do.
recently.
Let me tell you something, Francis. When I stick to the royals, because it's been a
Mm,
good test for me, I'm testing what's working, and I maybe it's a different audience, I don't know.
mm.
You can hear me? Yeah, I've got my sound on. When um when I post about Harry and Meghan, very little likes, but sometimes high engagement.
Yeah.
And but the posts that get the highest engagement are Catherine and William and Catherine, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh.
Mm, mm.
I haven't done much with and Princess Anne. They're the
Yes.
three: Princess
Yes.
Royal, the Edinburghs, and the Wales.
Well, they're the real royals, isn't it? The real
Yeah,
royals. You can't go
yeah.
wrong with those ones, including the king and queen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
that's right, including the king and the queen. Pardon me, I didn't mean to leave them out. Yeah, but
Yeah.
in that order, the Wales, the
Mm.
Edinburgh, the Edinburghs, and the Princess Royal neck and neck, and then the king and queen. You're always going to get the king and queen, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
rate. They
Hmm.
do rate. Yeah.
Yeah, hello, our dear friends. Good to see you join us. It's a late night weekend live stream here in the UK, of course. My dear Catherine is in Australia, and it is 8:30 in the morning, 8 a.m. in the morning, where you are.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, so
Yes.
we've got to balance it. Either it's gonna be very early in the morning your side or late at night my side. There is no way
Yeah.
we can avoid this as we are in both different time zones, isn't it?
Well, it works for both of us, I
Mm,
think, doesn't it?
mm.
Because you're quite a night owl, but from my observation, I think it's because you're very hands-on with the evening meal
Yes.
and organising the children for the
Oh, yes.
next day,
For
etc.,
next
etc.
day, so it's
Yes,
always
yes.
this time that I get to myself. So apologies, our dear friends, in the comments if you are in a country where it's quite late for this night live stream. We do appreciate your
Yes.
time. Josephina, good to see you joining us from Mexico. Wow, thank you. Hope everybody's good in Mexico. And we've got Lisa, Nina. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Truly, truly appreciate your time. Yes, and Judy's here as well from Judy, where are you from? Is that Wisconsin, United States? Oh,
Wisconsin,
yeah,
yes,
thank you.
yes.
Oh, we've got quite a varied audience, these wonderful places in the world. Thank you so much for finding us tonight. And as always, we come on here to highlight royal news stories, talk about those hot trending topics in our royal world.
Yeah, yeah, it's
In those topics,
very busy at the
yes.
moment with
Oh,
all the
it's
hot
been,
topics.
oh, yes. Hot, hot. And you know that you always come here at Francis Page Media for the latest royal news. My host, Catherine White, a royal Australian. She is very, very busy bringing us latest royal news across the pond. Thank you so much, Catherine, for your consistency and the highlights you share with us every day. Thank you so much.
Hey,
Aspi.
Aspie.
Yes. Hi,
Hello.
Aspi. Hi, Deborah. Thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Hi,
Extremely
Deborah.
grateful. Yes. We hope you're having a fantastic weekend and stick with us here for tonight. We won't hold you here far too long because some of you are probably about to head to bed. But at least let's talk briefly about those trending stories, Catherine. Where should we start from? Where should we start
What?
from?
Oh, wow, the last few days have been a real roller coaster.
Yes.
Let me put it to you this way, because I'm the guest, you're the host, so you're leading the chat here.
Yeah.
Let me put it to you this way. It's been a pleasure to see the royal family just getting on with business, doing their work. You had the Duke he's still known as the Duke of Cornwall, but the
Yeah.
Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Edinburgh, they were at the Royal Cornwall show. Prince Charles is out and about, and he was at the a flower show today with Sophie again, and
Mm.
it's just business as usual for the royal family, despite what's going on stateside. So,
Yes.
you're the host. You lead the charge.
Well, since you've touched on Prince William and the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie, stepping out, why don't we start with those two awesome royals? They rarely make appearances together unless it was, a Buckingham Palace gathering or a state visit for a president coming in when they have to all support the king at Buckingham Palace. We rarely see Sophie and Prince William step out, but the royal family has really stepped these engagements up, and they're trying different, engagements, pairing themselves together here and there to try and see what works, what does not work. But with Sophie, it is always going to work with any royal she steps out with. And on this occasion, they stepped out to go for the Royal Cornwall show. And this show celebrates the best of Cornish food, agriculture, drinks, people, establishments, especially charities in Cornwall that are doing great work there. And Prince William, of course, is the patron of the Royal Cornwall Agricultural Foundation, having taken over from his father, King Charles, who held that role for the last, 15, 20 years. Again, we can see William is now starting to assume those positions because, of course, he is the king in making. But taking with him the Duchess of Cornwall, I mean Edinburgh, for that visit was the icing on the cake because those two really connected like they always do while at the Cornwall show. That story is still trending right now. Sophie,
Yes.
yeah, and Prince William. So great to see them. And we know Sophie is also very close to Catherine, Princess of Wales. And whenever they step, they meet, it's always going to be lots of belly laughs, you know. And they show up at the flower show again. So this is amazing testament that this relationship that Sophie has with the Waleses is working. How do you find William and Sophie each time they step together, Catherine?
Oh, I really like. I
Mm,
tell you, the royal women are so different. Every one of them has a unique personality, and you're always going to get mixed reaction, but overall it's pretty favorable. You get the
mm,
silliness, oh, well, they're not living together, William and Catherine. It's just stupid. It's really, you only have to see them together to see that these are a couple that are like literally spiritually, emotionally, and physically
mm,
connected. And so, but I love the personalities of the royal women, and
mm,
I think Sophie and William together are really an interesting working couple. You know, the older woman with the young prince. She looks wise. She looks very measured. She dresses in keeping with her station and her age. I liked what she was wearing. She had
mm,
boots and she was very elegantly casual. And
mm,
and they get on well together. You can see that uh, William and Sophie have a good natural ease with each other, and that's why I like them out together. And
mm,
when I saw them at the Cornwall show, I was actually quite excited. I thought, oh, you know, they give you something every time. She's so at ease with William, which
mm,
um, is not always the case in families. That's where I'm going with this. In
mm,
families, sometimes you can detect a little bit of tension, or
mm,
but not with those two. And I think William really, this is the last thing I'll say on it, and leave it to the rest to you, because he just has respect for Sophie. You can see it. He really respects her and enjoys her company. I love them together. I think, oh, she's such a great backup, you know.
yeah,
She's
yes.
like one of the backing singers, but
Oh,
those backing singers hold their own, you know. You see, back in the day with the Motown crew, those backing singers, you just never got enough of them, and she's like that, you know.
oh, she's
I love her.
for long, she has been one of the unsung heroes, in the royal family. She's taking on lots of engagements, some that we don't even know about until at some point pictures start or photographs start popping up. But she is one of those very strong women, Sophie is, and she's been to places that you would never have thought a woman would travel on her own, with the security threats and all of that attached to some of those places. She traveled to Iran. She went to Mexico. I think she came to Mexico. She went to some
That's
of
right.
these. Yes, she's been some of these South American countries, Cuba. She's been quite around visiting charities for women dealing with rape as a result of war, child abuse and domestic drug, violence related charities. She's done a lot, and yet her work hasn't got the visibility that, let's say, maybe Prince William and Catherine gets. But she does a lot for the royal family. And the king knows that. The Waleses know that. And until recently, I think the king has started rewarding Sophie, by giving her appearances, with the likes of William, stepping out together. She's now stepping out more together with the king. Today they went to the Chelsea flower show together. So this is testament for us that Sophie's hard work is being seen, recognized, and of course, such a valued member of the British royal family. And her husband as well, Edward, very quiet gentleman. Edward. And those two are really, really made for each other.
Oh, I love Edward. I have such a crush on. I think it's because he's a bit mysterious, but at his mother's funeral, he just broke down and he was unabashed when he was, oh my gosh, thinking about the Queen's funeral, you know. He was
Mm,
under, he hid nothing. I just love Edward. He's a very emotional person, but
mm.
he's very stumm.
Yes,
He says nothing.
he's
Like
never
the
control.
Princess Royal, they say nothing, you know? I
Yes,
love Edward. I've got such a
very,
crush on him.
absolutely, very consistent. Royals. They've been in there every day supporting the king. Queen Elizabeth was here, and again Sophie, Edward, they were very supportive of the Queen. And the Queen's very last days here, guess who was there 24/7 to look after her? It was Sophie. Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. At some point, they said she was Queen Elizabeth's secret weapon. Okay, loved her so much. And, for them to be awarded that title of the Duchess of Edinburgh, it's one of the most trusted titles within the royal family. Everybody will tell you that. After the Prince and Princess of Wales, the Duchess of Edinburgh, those titles are solid, very solid. They are only awarded to those that are passionate about work and they know what they do. They bring with themselves a lot of experience and not just turning up on engagements just for the sake of turning up, but building real grassroots networking with people, communities together, having a good understanding of how the royal family operates, behind the scenes and that sort of thing. So Sophie, she's
She
one of,
is.
yeah.
So trustworthy. And I think trust is the economy that the royal family rely on. That's their currency, is public trust. And if you're going to get it from anyone, you're going to get it from someone like Sophie and Edward. She's so reliable, so trustworthy. Oh, I just adore her. I just, you're right. Chef's kiss, Francis.
Oh, yes, yes. And she's also very protective of
Mm,
William and Catherine, by the way,
yes.
Sophie. Very,
Hmm.
very protective of the future king and queen. She very much know that that is where the future of the royal family lies. Anybody who comes across as going to be very, dangerous or of William and Catherine, Sophie is always there like, the superwoman who is there. She took on that role of managing Meghan Markle when Meghan came down to the Queen's funeral from United States. And she said, I'll be there to sit in that van, make sure that, she does no shenanigans that are going to impact this occasion negatively. And boy, she did a great job.
She did, and you could see Megan was cowed by her presence. She was cowed because essentially people like Megan are bullies, and
Mm,
they're cowards, right?
mm,
Underneath
mm.
bullies are cowards. So she was the perfect choice, Sophie's choice, right? Sophie's choice. She was the one to sit with her in the car, keep an eye on her. And Megan didn't like it. You could see she resented it, but she was also intimidated. So
Yeah.
yeah, she was the one. She's a lion, that woman.
Sophie is a no-nonsense woman. She puts you where you belong. And same as Princess Anne. So it is great to see that, they still carry Queen Elizabeth's legacy forward. And they are still turning up today for King Charles in the same way they used to do for the Queen. Okay. And I'm sure where Queen Elizabeth is looking down on them and saying, you are doing a great job. Because I remember when the King Charles had just stepped onto the throne and the sort of difficulties that were there with, Meghan and Harry going away, doing those interviews. King Charles, we know his
Yeah,
health wasn't the best. He was relying entirely on his, sister and, brothers to do the job. And then Andrew goes and does what he did, so he became a bit useless with moving the royal family forward. So the real people who stood there for the king during those days, he had taken on the throne when Sophie, and Edward, Prince William and Catherine, and Princess Anne. Really, they've done a great job. Now, Princess Anne recently stepped out. She's been stepping out. She is one of those, again, machines, royal machines who are moving these jobs in the right direction every day. But again, Princess Anne, Sophie, these two ladies, are really, really stepping up the game. And given the that Princess Anne wasn't in good health at some point, when she fell off that horse. Again, we learned that Sophie used to check in on her. Sophie took on Princess Anne's projects, so Sophie plays a magnificent role there in filling in those gaps and taking on her own duties in the royal family. Mm-hmm. So, aren't we very lucky to have her? And I think she deserves more recognition. We as royal commentators need to come on, regularly here and start shining a torch on Sophie's work because
Oh,
she's.
I agree with that, because it's so easy to become captured, or that audience capture that wants all the drama and the juicy, saucy, naughty bits that come from, royal adjacents. We know who we're
Mhm.
talking about. I want to stick with Sophie, but it's so easy, and a lot of YouTube channels are really captured by that audience. And but I think Sophie and Edward and the Princess Royal really deserve a lot more attention from these channels. And
They
we do
do.
ourselves a disservice if we do not shine a light on them. Like Aspie really knows her, she knows what she's talking about. Here, there's a video of Sophie looking sternly at Meghan, at Harry, and at Meghan's last engagement. Meghan wore a green dress. Meghan looked away and had a scared look on her face. Sophie is fierce, and I think it's really behooves us. Oh, I love that word, behoove. Where did that come from? It really behooves us royalists who support the royal family to shine a light on their work, because
On their work.
they are royals.
Mm,
They
they're
are
royal.
everything. I looked at what Sophie was wearing. She's walking across. There's a photo of her and William, and they look like country folk. They look like country royals. They look like
Yeah,
country people. They look like
yeah,
horse people.
yeah. The way
They
they dressed up.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. You're not going to catch Sophie with one too many buttons undone on her blouse.
Oh
So
no,
the
no.
casual country chic that she displayed when she was out with William, I really liked it. It's not something I'd wear. First of all, they're not my colors, right?
Mm.
But I love that country horsey style, and
Yes, yes. And
they
William
epitomized
too.
it. Yes,
Mm. William too had that blazer on, which was checked, sort of Cornish way of dressing up, very countryside, like you say, traditional, smart, sort of wear, but turning up as real royals. When William, Catherine, Sophie, Anne steps out on these engagements, the king, let's not forget Camilla, they really, really are the symbol of true royalty.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
there is no stepping out because they are marketing so and so's product. So they are they marketing so and so's brand, or they're wearing these outfits, that outfits. They turn up just to be royals and to do a job that they do. Catherine, Princess of Wales, used to turn up on engagements, and we would have lots of all these news outlets highlighting what she has worn. Or she wore this Alexander McQueen dress, and she's worn, um, what's the other favorite designer she likes to wear?
Zara.
Yeah, okay, yes, and
Yes, it's
and
a
I
high
think.
street brand. Yep.
Yes, and I think the Palace machine, Kensington Palace, sort of started warning most of these outlets from talking more about what Catherine has worn on the day and focus on what she has actually gone to do there. Okay. the early years projects she has been on, it was very, it had become very common for all these news agencies writing about, oh, she wore £1,000 or £500, designer boots or whatever, and forget to highlight what they do. So why I'm saying that is that the royal family is trying to bring back the focus and attention to what they step out to do, the charities. They want those charities to be given more, of the spotlight than the spotlight most of us were giving out, when these royals step out. So you will never see me now talk about Catherine, Princess of Wales, wearing, this outfit and holding a handbag from this and that designer. It is more to do with she visited this charity. The charity does this sort of work, and this is the relationship the charity has with the royal family and communities. But yes, we are good talking
Well, the
about
girls,
real
the
royals.
girls are talking about Queen Camilla here. They're all saying how they've come around and they enjoy Queen Camilla. And I have to agree with that. I was never a fan of the Queen, the current Queen, and but she has grown on me. I think it's free speech who said she's grown on her, and I think what because I can't believe I came out for Charles and Camilla when they were in Australia. I can't believe I did that. I am a type. I, People don't believe me because I worked in public relations, I worked in government, and I had to train myself to deal with groups of people, deal with going to functions and things like that. But I'm an ultimate introvert. So for me to spend a couple of days with crowds was huge. I had to take a week in bed afterward, But the
Mm-mm.
Queen, she shook my hand. And honestly, I was so impressed with her because she was clearly unwell.
Mm.
She was not 100%. And I believe on their way back, they stopped off in India for at a spa retreat and
Mm.
spent some recovery time. But she was a trooper. And even though she was unwell, she was walking fast, all that walking out with the dogs, out on the Windsor estate and up in Scotland. And I think that she held the banner, the royal banner, when the king was first diagnosed with cancer. And then the queen, the Princess Royal took over there because obviously people say the royals don't work. When you've been involved in those kind of events, on any level with any organization or in government, there is a lot of the advanced team are very busy pulling that seamless event together. It is seamless. The
Mm.
Royals, no one puts together events like that quite like the Royals. And the American president's team. No one does it like the fine tuning. They work hard. They have a team that do it. So Queen Camilla, I've got huge respect for that woman, and I believe that she's going to be featured in. There's a crime story being telecast in Buckingham Palace, and she's going to feature in it, right?
Mm.
Who
Mm.
but Queen Camilla? Of course, she's going to feature in it, but she's done some fantastic works. And I tell you, Queen Camilla's got it right with her domestic violence. She doesn't get involved in. She doesn't veer over quite like William and the King do into political issues. Catherine's the same with her young uh, childhood interests. Queen Camilla, she walks on that line there, domestic violence, the reading room, and now she's going to be featuring in a crime show that's going to be telecast in Buckingham Palace, a
Yeah.
crime show.
Mm.
Which royal's gonna feature in that? They stuck with the Queen. They stayed away from the naughty royals.
Yeah, yeah.
I just love it. I just
Uh,
love it.
she's lovely. I was reading her, interests here, like you said, uh, that she's very passionate about, sex abuse, illiteracy, and rape. Since 1994, this biographer says Queen Camilla has raised awareness of osteoporosis, which has earned her several honors and awards. Okay, she has also campaigned to raise awareness of issues, key issues in society like rape, sexual abuse, illiteracy, with her books and book reading for the little ones, animal welfare, poverty. So you can see
Yep.
she's quite an all-encompassing royal, tackling these key issues in the community today. And then she comes from a very wealthy family. We all know that. Her father used to fly these army choppers, and very, very wealthy family. But to say that she has humbled herself in the way she has, and allowed the king to come out. Okay, she has never overstepped that mark. Royal protocol. Camilla sings it like she would eat food. She never puts her foot wrong. She is the only woman that has managed King Charles's character. Okay,
Oh,
King
she's
Charles.
fantastic.
King Charles can be messed about by a
Oh,
pen that is
oh,
spilling
oh, oh,
ink, and
she's
how
as cool
he
as a
loses it.
cucumber.
Yeah, but she comes in and said, "Don't worry, darling, all will be okay. Give us a pen, give us a better pen for Charles. There you go. Who is gonna make us a cup of tea? Bring King Charles a cup of tea." They bring it for him, so she knows how to deal with King Charles. She has been extremely supportive, and she doesn't want anybody who stresses King Charles. Nobody that is going to stress King Charles that Camilla will give any chance. Prince
Oh
Harry
no,
being away,
no,
Prince
stay
Harry and
away.
Meghan staying away is also highly due to Camilla putting those barriers there. Okay, all the
Yep.
phone calls Harry used to make to the king, these letters and stuff being written to the king by the Duchess of Sussex. Allegedly, Queen Camilla does not let the king come anywhere near to all of that because she knows the huge negative impact that can have on her husband, who is also holding a very important role in the country, and that's being a monarch. So kudos to Queen Camilla.
Well,
Hello.
she's doing what wives do when their husbands are sick. What?
Mm,
Well, she has to. Look, it's her husband. We mustn't forget. This is what they forget over in Montecito. This is her husband that is ill.
mm,
So for them to expect her to be in a mind to welcome them and act as a third party mediator is outrageous. It's her husband. Put aside their titles, these people are human beings. The queen, I think she's earned my deep respect for her. And as like I won't I don't like to hear people speaking ill of her because she's got her own health issues, and she really, when you consider what she was up against after Diana died, oh my God, it tells you the stoic stamina that this woman possesses. So Harry, to have cast her as the Wicked Witch in his book Spare. He took on a lion when, there was no way. The king said, "Do not touch my wife. You can touch me, do not touch my wife."
mm,
Well, her husband is ill. I think we need to cut a little bit of grace. And I see a lot of royalists have come around to her, but she's still got her critics. And I think I'll let it go.
She is one of those, royals for years that has been sort of, how can I put it? She hasn't been, um, how can I put it? There's the word I'm looking for. Appreciated, is that the word?
Yeah.
Yeah, people have sort of been on the other side, on the harassing side, and they've looked at her as the dark sheep in the royal family, and up to a point that she actually probably wasn't wanting to be a queen consort at some point, because she thought, I've had a lot of hatred from people and of that during those days of the queen. But as time went on, I think she started just appreciating the fact that her role was there to support the king. And I think Queen Elizabeth also helped her to embrace the role in a way, and probably promised that, I will do whatever I can to try and consolidate your image. And that's when we had that announcement from the Queen, when she made that speech saying, my son, the King, and Queen Camilla, the Queen consort. Because I mean, there's no reason why the Queen came out and said that there wasn't any need for her to mention that in her speech, that Camilla, the Queen consort. But I think the Queen did it because she had also observed all these years of Camilla being looked at in a different way by very many people out there. And she thought this would be a problem when, eventually she gets to, come through as the Queen consort. So the Queen here did a great job of highlighting Camilla, because it softened people's hearts somewhere. Okay, and people accepted, on the aspect of, okay, the Queen has finally, told us she is going to be the Queen consort. If Queen Elizabeth has done so, who are we not to? Okay. So, and up to then did we start, and did many people start opening up a little bit and softening their hearts for Camilla. Then Meghan Markle comes into the frame, and this is, at least for Camilla, this is when things start to change tremendously, because all of that now shifted across to Meghan Markle, and not that Meghan Markle then became the dark sheep, but it's because Meghan Markle, obviously being Meghan Markle, was always going to take on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, she would have seen right through her from the beginning, Camilla. Camilla doesn't strike me as a pushover. She's got a nose for people, you can tell, and you just have a sense she's got your number straight up, Camilla, and she would have picked Meghan a mile off, even though they made a huge effort for Harry's sake, and spoke well of Meghan in the beginning. There was no way Camilla would have been fooled. Neither would Anne have been fooled, and I don't think Catherine was fooled either.
Yeah. The girls here have actually got some really insightful comments. Aspie says, I'll read this out. I'll be the first to admit that I did not like Camilla at one time, but she is the woman that King Charles loves. Harry's book's pair was very spiteful and petty towards Camilla. There was no need for Harry to tell us all of whatever he told us about Camilla in that book, at a time when Camilla had only just stepped on the throne with his dad. He knew that saying that probably was going to weaken Camilla and King Charles's reign and totally destroy them, but it didn't. There was no need. Okay, so this was a Harry who was clearly out on a mission to do something, but he failed. And Aspie is very right here, because, I'm just like you, Aspie, I was one of those people. But let's not forget that we wouldn't have got the Charles we have today had it not been for Camilla. Okay, it would have been pointless to have a King Charles who was going to be unhappy, but you know how Charles used to look like and to behave back in those days, during Princess Diana's days. He was always in the media for the wrong reasons. But now, okay, this is where his heart lies. And let him be. Everybody in life, have their interests. And what might appear as great to us might not appear great to the person having that person or those products with them there. So we just have to accept that, just like, everybody else, everyone chooses who they want to be with. Okay. But the girls have really, really rammed up this
Yeah,
section with
yeah.
incredible thoughts. Lisa says when they got married, they called her Duchess of Cornwall. But let's face it, whether she used the title or not, she was the Princess of Wales. If you're married to the prince, absolutely. Okay, so she assumed all of those titles based on the fact that she was married to the future king. And today, she's the queen consort. And I think we are very lucky to have Camilla there today to support King Charles. We all know what King Charles has been through with the cancer, treatment. And not just the cancer treatment. Charles had his own health issues, prior to cancer. Who was there always to see him support and to see him strong? It's Camilla. Okay, so we've got to applaud that lady and give her the credit that she deserves, because I think most of us rarely talk about Camilla, which is not great at all.
No, I
Mm,
think it's like you were saying earlier, it's good for us to highlight these ladies, these people who are the backbone. They're doing a lot behind the scenes and they show up when they need to. I think it's so easy. I mean, and I know we'll get on to Harry and Meghan, and it's such a trap. It's such a trap. And you don't want to avoid it because they are the elephant in the room and what they get up to is ghastly. But I think it's very important, and you and I both like Camilla. We've
yeah,
come.
yeah, yeah.
I
We
can't tell you.
do,
I've come
we
around
do.
to
Yeah.
Camilla. I adore Sophie. I think I'd love to have her as a girlfriend. She's my kind of. I'm very drawn to people like her who are very sturdy and stable,
Yeah.
and I just feel, like I said, we're going to get onto the Huckles, but it's unfair of us to speak so much about them that we don't pay enough attention to the real
Yeah.
royals. You
Real
know what I mean?
Royals. Yeah.
What did Harry think he was going to gain by? You've never heard William diss her. You've seen little looks every now and again when they're out and about, especially in the early days. Of
Mhm.
course, it was still quite fresh for these boys after their mother passed, but you've never heard William do anything like that.
No, no.
He's all
In fact,
class.
William is very, very respectful of Camilla. These two have a great relationship. Recently, and William, as he has grown into his role, has actually come to understand why probably his father, opted for Camilla. And the other thing about Camilla is that she gives these boys huge respect. She never interfered in whatever they did. She never influenced any decisions the boys took. She treated them, she actually loved them. It's not like these stepmothers who harass, to chase people out of the palace, go out, influence her husband to dislike his sons or whatever. Camilla was never that. Very supportive, very, very supportive. When you see them at the balcony, at some point, Camilla wants Catherine and William to come through first. You see that in their body language. But of course, William knows that, my father and the queen, the wife, have to step out first. I'm very passionate about royal protocol, and whenever I look at these royals stepping out, either the balcony or anywhere else, I always look out for, right, who's come out first? Why have they, why are they standing there before? I like to pick out all of those small royal moments that highlight protocol and the authority each of these royals have. And you see clearly that, William respects Camilla. William wants to step out there, only after Camilla has done their bits, because he wants Camilla to have his spotlight. Okay? So we need, like you have said, we need to highlight these royals, real royals, a bit more, and especially the ones that for long haven't been given the credit that they have deserved, like Sophie, Camilla herself, Princess Anne, day in, day out, being the most working senior royals. Now, many people say that, oh, they don't have any young children anymore, so they have a lot of time. No, it's not like that. It's not like they
No.
still have their own responsibilities as we grow. We lose energies and all of that. So, but you see, they step out, come rain or shine. They're out there working. Okay, so we are very, very lucky to have the team, the Royals, the senior Royals, who are doing a great job for the royal family. Now, now that we have given our audience to, to the king, to the real royals, now we can also briefly touch on David Beckham's becoming and getting a knighthood recently.
I
Um,
know, it's
after
fantastic.
Yeah, great news after so many years of loyalty, dedication for, and his work for the local communities. What do you think about David Beckham's award recently? I know the honors list is going to be released on King's birthday parade, and David Beckham is becoming a star. Congratulations to David Beckham. Are you pleased for him?
I like David Beckham and Victoria Beckham. I know that um, it's understood that the brand, is very important to the Beckhams, and everything they do is for the sake of their brand. They're a couple that have seemed to turned their difficulties around, and their public facing life is flawless.
Mm,
And I absolutely love looking at Victoria Beckham. I just love her poise, her stature, her taste. I love that she doesn't smile. I love those vulnerable moments. They were at a state dinner recently, and she looked a little bit uncertain and a little bit lacking in confidence on a couple of moments. But it was so gorgeous. It was so endearing, because you kind of got behind the mask. But I
mm,
love them, and I think the way so that's what I think of the Beckhams, okay? But their philanthropy is and their love of nature and, you know, uh, gardening and farming. It's clearly the common interest between the king and Queen Camilla and the Beckhams. And I know everyone teases him, and even Rod Stewart's teased him
mm,
about, oh, have you got your knighthood yet, boy? Lad. And I just love that banter. And because at the end of the day, these people who receive these, they're lauded with knighthoods and all the rest of it. They're human beings, and they work hard. They didn't get to their station in life. Their businesses didn't get to what it was by not working, by sitting on their fat backsides, expecting people to just hand them contracts because, they are who they are,
Exactly.
So, well, we're royals, so give us these contracts and these reality shows, darling. No, I love
No,
the
no.
Beckhams. Look,
Yeah,
I know they're not perfect, and there's a certain male royal commentator who doesn't like David Beckham, and but he has respect for his philanthropy and what he's done. And let's not forget who stood for 12 hours. Unlike others who jumped the queue, David Beckham stood for 12 hours at the
exactly.
Queen's funeral.
He did. He did. We had Holly Willoughby here, and who is the other one? Counterpart, who they used to present their morning TV show. They jumped the show. I mean, the queue and gave
Disgusting.
gave excuses, to get to the front where people had lined up. I lined up as well, about 16 hours in that queue before I got there. And remember, if you can go back in my videos, I did a video when I've come out outside,
I remember it.
yeah, come out and say the queue is where. But I joined that queue, like, I stayed in it like
Of
for a day
course
and
you
a
did.
half.
Of course you did.
Exactly. But it was very, very disgusting to see these people because they have influence jumping the queue. That's Holly Willoughby and who the other one is. I forget his name. That was their downfall, in fact.
Yep.
After that, they've never come back into people's good books. But we had
No.
Beckham lining up. He's a very popular public figure. But, for the love or for the royal family and his values as a person, being very respectful, he was able to line up. But you're very right. This idea of people being given, these accolades when they have done nothing, is something that for years people have been opposed to. But when it comes to David Beckham, he has put in a lot of work. He's not only been very close with royals, we see him turn up at nearly enough every royal function here, he's invited. But he has also achieved incredible things for the community. First of all, his football, he played football, he was a national treasure, brought England team to the finals, and his services to the country in football have been commendable. Okay, he has football academies here in the UK supporting young ones coming through the process to play football and contribute to the success of the sports in the country. Huge, huge work is done. So this is so well deserving of him, and I'm sure that the Sussexes, wherever they are, of course, are not going to be happy with David Beckham's knighthood. Why? Because the Beckhams now here are put first,
Yep.
before Meghan and Harry. And you mentioned something about Victoria Beckham. This is Beckham's wife. Uh, I wish Meghan Markle could pick a leaf from how that woman behaves.
I agree with you. I think that Victoria, they're very different personalities, Catherine and Victoria. Catherine, the Princess of Wales, but she has a bit of that stature, and it comes from an inner poise, and it comes from a sense of occasion. She understands the sense of occasion, and it shows. And when you have a sense of occasion, it lifts you up, it doesn't diminish you. When you seek to break protocol, in other countries and wear dresses that or outfits that are they're unseemly, or they break just cultural norms when you're out on
Mm,
royal duties, it diminishes you. But when
mm,
you respect your audience, when you respect culture, and you respect uh, the people behind the scenes, because I'm sure people like that, as bosses, they're not always easy to work for. I'm sure and Victoria in particular, I reckon she'd be very exacting. But
yes.
that's where her, because she doesn't, I don't know how tall she is, but she has personal stature. It's her
Mm.
stature, the way she carries herself. She's gorgeous. I love her. In fact, I don't know what the occasion was. I'm a dressmaker. She wore this gorgeous um,
Was it the
white
wedding? She looked
white
like
satin
a
coat.
princess as
Yeah,
well.
she loved
She
it. I'm
had
going to make.
her.
Oh, I can't get enough of this woman. I breathe her in. I know that this is how I feel with Catherine, but she wore this gorgeous white
Mm,
satin trench, and I'm going to
mm.
make that. I'm looking for a pattern and get some. I'm going to make that coat. Oh my God, these two women, they're very different because I love clothes, I love fashion, and I'm
Mm.
not paying attention to the palace decree that you can't talk about their clothes. But Victoria Beckham has it and more.
Yes, she has. She has great sense of fashion, and
She's
recently,
gorgeous.
I think Catherine is one of those people who admire her. Beckham's Victoria Beckham's sense of fashion, because when she stepped out recently, she was wearing something inspired by Victoria Beckham. But she is one of those women that carry herself with grace, Victoria Beckham, and how I wish Megan could copy from her.
Oh,
She doesn't overstep the mark. She has always respected her husband David Beckham, and she's very hardworking as well, extremely hardworking. She was a musician. She goes on from the music, and she starts this fashion brand, has concentrated on that without poking her noses in other people's businesses, like we see Meghan Markle does. Very, she doesn't blow her own trumpet like Meghan Markle
no,
wants
no.
to do. So every character that Meghan Markle needs to adopt is in this woman here, Victoria Beckham. But sadly, she can't. And sadly, these people like the David Beckhams, Victoria Beckhams, will always distance themselves from the Megans because they know they are not good people to be around. And David
Yeah, okay, I
Beckham
mean,
gets.
Megan is just vulgar. She wears, what about that wardrobe she wore when she was in Nigeria? You would never see Victoria Beckham dressing like that. And a bit like the Prince of Wales, William, David Beckham is very lucky to have someone like Victoria Beckham
Oh
because,
yes, yes,
yeah,
she's been there for him. They've had their moment, their relationship. They've had those hiccups, but she's
mm,
stayed there with him, very patient.
mm,
She's one of those ladies who don't have. With Meghan Markle, you go and type in this, and you see she used to be a yacht girl. She did this. She appeared on what is this program on TV? Deal or No Deal?
six,
Those
yeah.
shoddy programs and businesses and all of that. You won't see Victoria Beckham in any of that. She takes pride in her personality, and then she always likes to be doing the right thing at the right time. So it's good to see that her husband has been rewarded, and I think both of those have been great in helping to shine the light of the robe, because every time they attend these events, it's good for the royal family, because the king, the Prince of Wales, have so many charities out there that Beckham has played a role in. He's an ambassador on many of those charities. The King's Trust, with the Prince Trust, all of these charities, David Beckham has a hand in them in a way of supporting and pushing out, creating awareness. And of course, because Victoria Beckham is David Beckham's wife, a lot of the time that David Beckham gives to these charities traveling away, there is Victoria Beckham behind the scenes who is supporting her husband to come and be a part of these projects without her interfering.
So let
So,
me ask you this
yeah.
question, Francis.
Hmm.
How do you think Harry and Meghan will respond to this latest development with the Beckhams? What do you think their reaction would be?
Of course, very jealous. They wouldn't even, in the actual. Okay, so in reality, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry would reach out on their social medias and say congratulations to David Beckham for receiving a knighthood. You won't see that. You will not see it. Uh, Beckham and Victoria Beckham don't allegedly get on with the Harrys. So everybody knows that now. It's been in the papers for quite some time now. Uh, Meghan Markle accused Victoria Beckham of leaking stories of the Sussexes in the media. And this is where it all started. Harry reaching out to
Oh,
David and starting to warn David, your wife should stop, leaking these stories. And of course, these were lies because these stories were never leaked to the media by Victoria Beckham, according to sources. But because it's a Harry who works on Meghan's directives all the time, Harry rushed to go to reach out to David Beckham and say, your wife is leaking stories about my wife. And, without actually getting to understand that Meghan Markle was the problem here. There was no leaking of those stories anywhere. Okay, reports suggest. So Beckham and the Megans they don't talk. Recently, we had David Beckham falling out with his son, and somehow Meghan Markle invites his son, David Beckham's son, to go over to their because Meghan likes to play on these situations. So she saw that as an opportunity to bring David Beckham's son, invite her to hers, and try probably to want to get a lot of information about David Beckham because he deals with the royal family. So Meghan Markle is being very kind here, invites Beckham's son, oh, come to the party with us. But I think there was a motive behind that. She wants to try and see what information she can get from the Beckhams and use that in the upcoming projects about the royal family. But they are not going to be happy that Beckham has received a knighthood. They won't like it because Beckham is always seen next to Prince William, isn't it? Next to the royal family. Beckham is invited to Buckingham Palace on these dinners.
it's
Buckingham Palace
beautiful.
party is part of the royal family, whereas they are no longer. I bet you Beckham has direct contacts to the King, to the Prince of Wales. Harry doesn't have them anymore. Harry doesn't even know what is going on in the King's life. The other day he was telling us that I don't know how much my dad has got to leave. And it was very telling of a Harry who has no clue about what is going on in his father's life. And yet he is the son of the King. So tell me if he will feel happy when Beckham is being given all of these honors. You know.
Well, these celebrities that receive these honours, they've worked hard. They've put in the hard graft in their careers. When we were at the bottom of the steps of the Opera House during the King's tour, and we were waiting for them to come down. You know the steps that Harry and Meghan came down? We were right up there at the bottom of those steps for the King and Queen, Camilla, to come down. And it turned out who should be up at the top of the steps. She surprised them was Joanna Lumley. And she's very good friends with Queen Camilla. And she's been on her book podcast on a number of occasions. And why do I bring that up? Because these people who are circle, in a circle of the royal family, worked hard, and they didn't have those titles just handed to them as wedding presents. That's the difference between them and Harry and Meghan. Harry and Meghan, I mean, they really value that knighthood. He worked. Poor old David Beckham. Who didn't who didn't sort of feel for him, waiting so long for this? But they worked hard. Joanna Lumley worked hard. Dame Judi Dench. All of these incredible, iconic people that worked in the entertainment industry. Rod Stewart. Oh, my mother was a big fan of Rod Stewart. We love them because they're
Mm,
so ordinary in many ways. They're not
mm.
carrying airs and graces like Meghan and Harry do. Apparently, behind the scenes, Meghan's, former staff have let it leak that she expects everyone to call her mum. Oh my God, I mean,
Exactly. Exactly. For what has she done even to deserve that?
it's
She stepped into the
ridiculous.
royal family. 6 months she was out. She got all these titles, and she thought that's it. Out. She went out, and using those titles, she hasn't done anything for the royal family apart from, how can I put it, being disgraceful, lowering the standards of the royal family through her activities and all of that. I mean, look at that video that they put out more
Oh,
recently. She's dancing like she is. She's got all these blankets underneath and all of that sort of thing. Sharing the very private. They don't even look like they are royals. And don't even get me started on this, Kathleen. Really.
we
But
knew it was coming. It's just so appalling. I
very.
couldn't. I was so shocked. I actually I actually wondered if it was real, and I was I was so shocked that I just went straight online and said, "Oh, I'm so shocked. I've got no words." And that's all I said for 3 minutes. I don't know what to say. I've got no words. It was so disgraceful. Could you see Victoria Beckham doing that? Maybe as a posh
No,
girl when they were singing
no,
and dancing on the stage, but I
exactly.
couldn't see her doing that
And even
as
those
she's
videos
directed.
of, yeah, even those videos of Porsche, Victoria Beckham during their days, Spice Girls, she's trying to get those removed, the ones that she was actually, being a bit of a mess, because she has now looked back and said, "Whoa, that's, with the person I've become now. I think that's a bit embarrassing." But here is the Duchess of Sussex and the Duke of Sussex appearing in front of camera, video, doing all of these very, very sluggish things, and I think this is insulting mothers out there, I think, because a mother at that stage in their pregnancy, at that moment, is not going to want anything else apart from that baby out, being sat somewhere calmly, allowing for the normal breathing, the checks for the baby to make sure the baby is in position, not dancing like that. And Harry clad in his hood, and at that in a hospital, they must have been dancing to music, obviously, which is loud. It's a hospital setting, even if this is a private wing they're in. But there are values and principles that govern these places. They just made a fool out of all of us watchers. I was very, very disappointed in these two, I'm telling you. I
Well, the
was.
person who's not going to live that down, there's two people who are not going to live down that video. She doesn't care. It's Megan, because whether we're talking good or bad, we're talking about it. That's all she cares about. But her daughter Lily, who's carrying the Queen's name, imagine, I mean, you know what it's like. You're a parent. when like I said earlier, you know, I'm a dressmaker, and sometimes I pick up my boys from school, and one of the boys, I remember I was wearing these hot fuchsia pink pants. They were saying, "Oh, I just love that color," and my son comes out, he's 17 years old. Oh, Mum, what are you wearing? Oh, Mum. And I had to drive the car up around the block and he walked to the car. And it wasn't that bad. It's just he didn't like I love color. As you can tell, I love
Mm.
color. But he was embarrassed by something as benign as that. It was
Mm.
just a pair of bright pink pants, you know,
Mm.
and they weren't even tight skinny pants. They were just that lovely flared style. And because, you know, that's what I love to wear. But he was so embarrassed. I said, all right, I'll get back in the car and I'll drive up around the block, but you come straight to the car because he was the wayward one. I said, if you're not in that car in a couple of minutes, I'll come out and I'll have my police light, you know, on top of the car if you're not there. This is what Lily is going to have to live with now, and it is
Mm.
so humiliating. The Queen, named after the Queen's namesake. Oh, thank God the Queen is not here to see this.
Yeah, yeah. We've got Becky here. That's a great story, Catherine.
Well, you could see I love colour. You know,
Yeah.
I've got a pair of coloured pants. They look like clown pants that I've got half
Alisa.
made sitting just in front of me. I'm going to finish them today. They're for
Yeah,
spring. I mean,
yeah,
come on. My kids are still embarrassed. Well, you know,
yeah.
when those interviews I did during the King's visit to
Visit.
Australia,
Yeah.
yeah, my son, who is in the arts, and he's very well known, he's quite famous actually in the arts. I'm not going to mention his name, I'll just embarrass him. He
Mm.
sent me a text and he goes, Mum, I just got a text. You were live on Channel 7 talking about the royals at the royal visit. And I said, I know, I'm still embarrassing you. I know, I know. But
Yeah.
this is humiliation, what
This
Lily is
is
going to have to put up with.
yeah.
This is total, absolutely humiliation because I'm going to repeat something that I would not have said it, but I got permission because Lady Colin Campbell has always already used the word. She said that slut drop, and
Yeah.
that is awful. But that
Very
is what
awful.
she looks like, a pole dancer.
And then yes, Lisa says it again. Harry was just as gross.
Oh,
That first move Harry did is called gross.
he's supposed to be a fox. She calls her husband. Oh, have you seen my
Lisa,
husband?
give us a
Oh,
wave.
such a fox. Oh, go away, honey. There is no sex appeal in that man of yours. Now,
But
William,
listen,
on the other hand,
but was that a Harry, or was it just this man masquerading in a hoodie pretending to be Harry? I can't even believe that was Prince Harry,
no,
because
I think it was. I think it was. He's such a handbag.
because Meghan's
Oh,
face for some reason was, yes, this is Meghan Markle, in and out, this is her. And then this man comes cutting across the video in a hoodie. Face is a bit blurry, but I think that is Harry because that is Harry's sort of stature. You can
yeah,
sort of tell. Yeah,
and he's going like, oh.
yeah.
It was
But
I
I've
was
come
like,
across reports, people saying, no, this, I don't think that's Harry. That's one of these boys who
that's
get trashed the
awful.
video.
No, I mean, I can't believe I'm out shopping. I'd watched it before I left home, so I go out shopping, and I thought, oh, I got to do a video. I'm going to do a Francis. I'm going to do something now. Now I got to say, and all I kept saying was, I got no words. You don't. Who gets on a video to say, I got no words? I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. I'm so shocked. And
No.
it wasn't just her, it was him. He's going backwards and forwards like a freaking
Yeah.
puppet. He was like a puppet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
Oh,
Lisa says that the first move he made was, scrotch grabber. He
yeah.
grabbed his crotches and,
Oh,
and I said,
ginger
Jacob,
crotch.
that's,
That was my first thought. Leave your ginger crotch alone. We don't need to see. How do I clean my eyes? Oh,
So we've got
jeez.
Sheila Kelly here says, I actually feel sorry for Harry and Meghan.
Yeah,
Those who
I
have done
saw
so
that.
many drugs that it's affected their minds permanently, in my opinion. Both need professional mental health. I think they do. And you've time and time said this to, Catherine. You have pointed this out. They need some help somehow because nobody, in the right frame of mind, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, royals still sat on the royal family website. They are representing the king. That's what it says on the website, representing the king here and where they are. That they can do such a thing without thinking twice about how it is going to come across to the viewers. Nobody does that. But the fact that they lack that sense of judgment and second thinking about this tells that there is something wrong here. Okay? So, Kelly here, Sheila Kelly, give us a wave, Sheila. How are you? By
What a good
says that,
crack.
yeah,
Yeah.
she says professional mental health is needed here. I
Oh, I
think it
agree with
is.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah, but
Because there
remember,
is.
this was 4 years ago as well. So the
Mm,
damage now, 4 years later, is even greater. It's
mm,
even greater than it was back then. But they were high as kites. He actually said in his book they got high. There's no way he was allowed to have the gas. No, he would never be. But they were high. They were high as
yeah,
kites.
yeah, yeah. And now here is the thing. I was watching somebody recently, was it Sean Neal or whatever, said that this was actually not the video they wanted to put out. That these two had four versions. They made four versions of this sort of video. One,
Oh.
yeah, that one video was going to be Prince Harry in the hospital corridors pushing Meghan Markle in the bed, that
Oh,
bed
for
line.
FFS,
Yes.
FFS.
And
Oh
then
no.
Meghan Markle was going to jump out of the bed, get off and start doing those little twerking things in the corridors.
Stop.
Yeah, to show, hey, yeah, you can also have energy to jump out of the bed when you're pregnant and do a bit of all of that. That
Really?
they choreographed this video, and then four scenes they had, and they picked that one out to feature on in their post. But what's also surprising to learn from what Sean said is that they were trying to film something for Netflix.
Is that right? Now, I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
news to
that
me. I
yeah,
I wondered about it. Because they film everything, like their stupid freedom flight. They're escaping World War II. The Nazis have invaded Montecito,
exactly.
you
Mm.
know,
That they
or
were trying to
Canada.
film
It's
something for Netflix.
ridiculous. Yeah, yeah.
Ridiculous, yeah. And so that they had presented these clips to Netflix
Well,
and
Netflix knew better, didn't they?
to feature in the upcoming documentaries. And Netflix looked at them and said, "We don't think this is something we could put on our platform." So I think Netflix themselves looked at this and said, "No, this is going to bring us negative reviews." And each time people don't perceive these filmings rightly, very many people unsubscribe from Netflix, like they have done since they started featuring, Meghan Markle and Meghan and Prince Harry's, programs on their platform. So apparently, when Netflix said no, the Megans then look for a way of sharing these clips, thinking that maybe, okay, you've missed out on this, you're gonna share it, so you see what you have missed. Okay.
We didn't know what we were missing. We
Yeah.
didn't know it till it was shown to us. Yeah. Well, and so you know what you've missed. Look what you missed out
Yeah.
on. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's so bad.
So
It's
bad.
just
So
so
it is
bad.
so embarrassing, Catherine, to a point that insiders are telling us that actually the royal family is now looking at these two royal titles seriously. Um, so Meghan Markle, Prince Harry might have done themselves a disservice here, putting out this video, because this is not how the royal family is going to want to operate with these two going forward. The more they run mad like this, the more the royal family suffers in terms of popularity. Okay, so they have failed to be quiet because the royal family said, I think these contracts were there, when you're going, no use of these titles, no doing business in the name of the royal family because you're no longer working royals. But they failed to respect that. They are still using the royal titles with Meghan Markle's as ever, all those projects which have the branding of the royal family, the notes, posted ones Meghan writes. She appears to be using the royal family in so many respects. And to add on to that, all of these controversial videos, very disrespectful, and they still sat on the royal family website. People, because the royal family reads into all of these comments. They see these videos, trending stories going, and they're just fed up of constantly being brought into the frame because of these two. So insiders are claiming that these titles are going very, very soon. And they are claiming as well that we are going to wake up very soon and those two will be vanished from the royal family website.
Well, I think a lot of people would
Okay.
appreciate at least starting with that,
Yeah, yeah,
at least starting with that, and
yeah,
then bring about some change to the regulations that requires working royals or HRH, the title holders, to live in the country,
yeah.
because some commentators are saying that um, they believe their way back is through their children, and that the children will become working royals later on, and that the king hasn't wanted to deal with that because he didn't want to look like he was penalising the children. But they need to have some laws introduced whereby working royals and title holders, HRH title holders, live in the country. It
Mm,
actually makes sense.
it makes sense. They need to live in the country. They need to have permanent residence here. You cannot have people who are in the line of succession living away, living this sort of mysterious life like we see Meghan Markle, Prince Harry live. You're having royal children who are invisible. Nobody knows how they look like, but they are sat on the succession line on the royal family website. you know it is so unreal, and these are the questions being raised behind the scenes. We have these debates ongoing, and I'm telling you, Catherine, and all of you, my viewers here, it is just going to be a matter of time, and that time is not so far away from today, that these royal titles are going to be given a second thought for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And campaigners have already come up as well, taking things much further to wanting these children and Harry stripped off the line of succession because they are not doing anything. They don't deserve to sit there when they are constantly constantly trying to bring the establishment down. How could they sit in there when they don't want the establishment to exist?
Well, I think Sheila hit the nail on the head about the extent of the damage um, to them in terms of their as consequence of their drug use. Because what do they think they're going to achieve by this constant picking at the threads, and
Yeah,
saying, going on BBC and saying, very publicly, we don't know how long my father has to live. I want reconciliation, but,
yeah.
there are those who'll never forgive me for writing the book. And and then to release these absolutely obscene, they really are obscene. And I'm going to tell you, and I was during lockdowns, that was how I grew my TikTok channel, was during lockdown. I didn't know there was a TikTok um, fad going around with women in the nursing wards. But when you look at some of them, they look like real pregnant women. They don't look like they've got a pillowcase full of socks stuck under their dress, and the cannula's in the right place. And they're walking around with, their little hospital equipment and all the rest of it. I didn't even know there was that going on at that time. And if it had been and I was pregnant, I wouldn't have done it because I
Mm,
would look like the side of a barn. So
mm.
I don't understand why women think that is kind of funny or cool. But why do they think that they're getting anywhere? They're getting the wrong attention. They're doing it to get attention, but in terms of the royal family, it's the wrong attention.
It's the wrong
And
attention,
it
yes.
tells you, Sheila, I think Sheila's brought up, she's reminded us, and I need to be reminded of that because it is a thing in my mind with Harry in particular, because I think Harry's really isolated. I think he's in a
Mm,
really, I think he's
mm.
really vulnerable because
Because
even the, go on.
it, this begs the question, why would he even cut across that video wearing a hoodie? Why? There's so, there's so many things that went wrong in that video. Now, Sheila,
I love the
Sheila
way you
pointed
said
out
that.
this is, what did Sheila call it? The scrotch grab. Sheila, please put it in the comments here. Put that in, write
Oh,
that
it's just
comment.
awful.
Rewrite it here. I like looking at it. Sheila said it's
Well,
called
I mean, what
the
did he think he was?
scratch.
I know.
Very, very
Oh,
disgraceful. Okay. But this is what Meghan Markle, I think the advisors are telling her, that you can build a brand on controversies. You can build a brand on doing weird things. Okay. You pull microphones off people, just stay on the red carpet, you chase everybody away, do all of these weird things because that's what gets you popular. But it's the wrong thing because it doesn't get you any far at all. It gives you this false impression that you are popular, but in the wrong way. It takes business away from you. Let's face it, Meghan Markle's as ever brand is struggling. We all know that. We have seen that. She's not going to replenish products that sold out. She told us last week that I won't be restocking my strawberry jams and all of that. Why? Because no buyers, no buyers. All of these sold out were jinx to let us believe that, oh, she's selling out, they're very popular, her products. But there are no buyers. Nobody is going to be supplying her at all, simply because they can't work with somebody like them. They really can't. Okay. And she's taking a step back. 2026, she's reflecting on what to do and all of that. We might see a Megan who might come back and say, I'm not as ever anymore, I'm gonna be this, very, very inconsistent. And it's because she has built a brand on lies. She's built a brand on these weird things that people cannot relate with. Okay. But what is important for us here today to talk about is the fact that the royal family,
yes.
the royal family that these two are still representing, is not going to have its image looking well in the long run if they don't deal with this issue of the royal titles and these two getting off the royal family website. Okay.
Well, the
And we,
problem is, oh, go on.
mm, and we hope that, William, when he becomes king, is really going to deeply look into how to approach this issue and get it done with and so and dusted.
Well,
It.
they've
Mm,
what they've done is they've actually empowered William now. They've actually strengthened his hand because you've got commentators. Now, I'm not talking about YouTubers. I'm talking not even the big YouTubers that we all know about. But I'm talking about, American commentators questioning if these children were surrogates. And when you start having that now leaking out into the mainstream, the damn wall has broken. And so this whole issue of the children in the line of succession, what they have done, she's exposed herself
mm,
because no pregnant belly moves around like
moves
that. That
like that.
baby, that baby is stuck in there. It is not moving until it's ready. And for you to push it up and down and sideways like that, it is totally impossible. It is an absurd proposition. But
Exactly.
now William is in a position where, without even talking about it, because we know the royals don't say anything, they operate by what they do. That's how they speak. They have strengthened his hand now in terms of dealing with the line of succession issue, because the questions now are vibrating over the surrogacy rumours, over the people didn't want to touch it, even though they may have quietly questioned it. They didn't want to touch it. I never wanted to touch it. I would listen to different arguments on the subject, but I wasn't going to touch the subject because it involved children. But
Mm,
now William's got the green light now. It's probably amber at the moment, but it's just about ready to turn green. That's how I see it. And she's done it to herself. She has exposed herself. And I bet that's why Netflix didn't want to include it, because I bet they saw right through it as well. It's
Well,
so obvious it's a pillow shoved up under her dress.
it is very, very, and this is what I was saying. This is so disrespectful to the mothers out there, and this is why people are actually starting to believe that Meghan Markle is not the actual mother of those babies, because no mother going through that situation can behave in the way she did. Yeah, making it sound like having a bump at that stage is so fun. If there was fun, keep that to yourself, because there are mothers out there that have lost their babies at that stage. But it's such a shame. Now, Go Back's Bold says, when do the NDAs expire?
I saw that. Yes,
Mm.
yes. I was
I've
just looking at
highlighted
that.
that. Yes. Hi, Bax. Thank you for joining us. Another membership holder there. Thank you so much for the support. And yes, we've had a great conversation here today, haven't
Yeah.
we?
There's been a lot to cover, a lot going on with the Royals, but they're just out doing what they do. They
Yes.
don't look phased, they don't look bothered. But as you rightly point out, Francis, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I actually believe you're right. William is going to move forward on dealing with these two. It's a shame. I mean, the king is not a well man, and it's his son, it's his grandchildren. It's a shame it falls to William, but it is what it is, and you can be sure the execution. I hate to use that word, but
Mm,
the execution of what he has to do will be flawless. It will be
mm,
seamless.
And free speech says here, William might be restricted like Charles, but they can't tell us too much on him. It's a good comment there, good
Mm,
insight on what's yet to come for
mm,
William. But I think William for us has showed elements of braveness when it comes to dealing with his brother here. he's quite often got back to those questions being asked when he's out there walking about. They asked him, "Are you a racist family?" And, trying to respond to what Meghan and Harry had said in the interviews. He said, "We are very much not a racist family." So he is. That was telling us that he doesn't agree with what they say, and he has admitted it publicly, as opposed to when royals tend to keep quiet about it. But we've also seen William, who allegedly hasn't been talking to his brother for how many years now? A long time. He doesn't even apparently want to hear the
So
name Harry.
sad. I
Yeah.
know. It's really sad. His mother would be
Mm.
so disappointed to see
Yeah.
her boys in this position. But Harry's brought all this on himself. He's become a figure of fun and mockery. He thinks he's so entitled. It's so disappointing to see. This is what I love about Anne. There's no airs and graces with her, the Princess Royal. These tireless royals, some of them are just tireless and they just get on with the job. Same with Sophie, there's no airs and graces there. Catherine, she comes out, she's flawless in the way she presents. They just do their work. There's a humility. And I think that because of the year that Prince William has been through with the illness of his father and the illness of his wife and going through their treatments, it's really matured him in a way where he's been able to step up and do it with humility. And that's
Mm.
what we want to see. There's no humility with Harry and Meghan, none.
No.
It's humility that sets people apart, but they don't have any.
No, and what a shame that the path that Harry took. What a shame, because William warned him. He really did. He talked about Harry's rushing into this marriage, and said, "Why don't you take your time and observe this woman? You just met within a click of the finger. You're marrying. Why don't you take a step back and observe first?" Harry thought otherwise about his brother at the time. He thought William was jealous of him, of marrying this most beautiful woman that
Get out.
I, and he said, "Okay, why don't you think twice about doing this and that?" Harry got so angry apparently and stopped talking to his brother. But look what's happening now. And I bet you Prince William sat there thinking, I told you, you never listened to me. And part of why William is not in touch with Harry anymore, not even wanting to be near where he is anymore, comes down to the fact that he time and time again tried to advise him as an elder brother, and he refused to listen to him.
Mm. It's so sad. As a parent, and I'm sure you feel the same, imagine if that was what was ahead. You saw your children falling out like that, and
Yeah,
there was no way back. It just
yeah.
breaks your heart. But
Breaks your heart. Look at
at the
Becky
same
there.
time,
Look at Becky saying, I wonder if Harry wishes he took his advice now.
I
Of course,
bet you he does. I
yes,
bet you.
he is.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you're very right, Becky. And the thing is, Harry's ego right now cannot even help him. It's not helping him, because I think he's deep inside of Harry is a man who would like to come and apologize and acknowledge that I was in wrong. I was in the wrong space at the time. I'm with the wrong person right now, but he can't because of his ego, but also because of the fact that he's going to be conceding defeat to his brother who warned him many years back. So if Harry comes out now and say, my brother, you told me the right thing, Harry will be accepting defeat. So he would rather live in this problem he's in now. He made his bed, he's gonna lie in it forever. Things have got to a point that there is no return, in my opinion. In my
There's
opinion.
no good end in sight, is there? Unless he
Exactly.
takes a unless
Yeah.
he makes a course correction There's
Yeah.
no good end in sight.
But he's become a very lonely man. All this dancing we see, scrotch grabbing, is that what Becky called it? Was it Lisa called it
Oh,
grabbing? All of that. I think this is all pretense going on. I don't think this is a happy man where he is. Because if he was happy, he wouldn't even be seen in London running around trying to knock on doors, trying to locate his friends. Because who does that? There is social
mm,
media here now. People have people's contacts. Surely he would know where to go. He would know who to call. And he wouldn't just turn up on doors, people's doors knocking, looking like a lost sheep. It is telling us that there is something that Harry is going through. He's very lonely. He's trying to reconnect with his old friends, to try and see how can he get his life back, here in the
You
UK.
make a very good point about that
Mm,
photo. It really
mm,
communicates everything we need to know
mm.
about Harry at the moment, doesn't it?
It does. It does. So, my dear friends, it is coming to God. Our time, 1 o'clock past. We've kept you far too long.
It's a lot of fun, actually. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Aspie
Yeah.
reckons, Aspie said somewhere way back, she said, I love it when you two laugh. And we do
Yeah.
actually, because some of the stuff is just you like it. I can't get my head around it, you know.
You can't. I bet
I
you,
love it.
Catherine and Princess of Wales, if they watch that video, somebody must have said, "Oh my God, what is going on here? What is?" Can you imagine Prince
Oh,
William and Catherine dancing like that and putting out a video like that? We would all
oh,
start to worry. We would
the
cry.
memes. Well, the
Yeah?
memes going around
We
are
would cry
hilarious,
tears. We would say,
but they
"What's
wouldn't be
going
happy.
on?" Hmm?
Yeah, they wouldn't be happy. I imagine that because Catherine's very compassionate and she'd be thinking, what the heck is going on with these two, especially Harry, because she loved Harry. She
Mm,
loved him.
really.
She would, they would be thinking, like, oh my God. I tried to figure out what's going on behind palace doors, but I can't. I can't.
I'm
I think
telling
it's a
you, this video
combination
must
of
be, yeah. The king must be watching a video and saying, "What's going on here?" It's they probably have put on the red alert somewhere. Be ready. This is.
But hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. This is the king who got caught out in his own sex scandal with Tampon Gate. I tell you what, they're a racy lot, those royals.
I'm telling you, this Duchess, the Duke of Scratch Grab is what did Lisa call it? Lisa.
I
I
know, I
cannot
know.
more.
The
Okay.
crotch grab.
But it's
It's
very
awful.
embarrassing, and
Yeah.
that does not represent the royal family in all capacity. It doesn't. And that's why we are really, really advocating for the removal of those titles, because that's not the royal family. I've worked for the royal family. I've lived inside the palace. I've been next to the royals. I've the character I saw in that video is not representative of the royal family at all.
Oh, he
Not.
thinks he's Michael Jackson.
Is Michael
Grabbing himself like that. You're not Michael Jackson.
Now, if that was done in their house, in their kitchen, when they were cooking, when Megan is not pregnant, in the way she was in a hospital with cannulas, in wrong places. If that was in their kitchen on a normal day having fun, okay, we would say that's, people. There is an allowance to have fun in your own home and to have those mad moments. But these were beyond mad moments. You
No,
know,
no, it
these
was because it exposed them. It exposed her and it exposed the whole fraud that they sought to execute on the royal family and
crazy
on the
grab.
British public. What did she say?
Crotch grab, that's
Crotch
the
grab.
word. Yeah.
Yeah, just put ginger in front of it. Ginger
Yeah.
crotch grab.
And
Oh,
to have you school
Harry.
me up like that, added salt to it, because
Oh, I loved the way Lady Colin Campbell called it that slut drop. I thought, oh, she said what I was thinking. I'm only repeating what I don't talk like that usually. I don't even think like that. I'm just repeating what someone else said.
yeah. But anyway, Catherine, we need to say bye bye to our
Yeah, it
viewers.
was too much fun today. We
Yes, yeah,
knew it would
thank
be.
you.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you
thank
all for
you.
being
Thank
here
you.
with us. We truly, truly appreciate your support. And Becky, thank you. I wonder how embarrassed their team is. Very embarrassed, Becky. Definitely very embarrassed. Whoever is advising these ones is definitely trying to expose them. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Debbie. Yes, it's
Thank you,
trying to
guys.
expose them. Yeah. But thank you so much, guys. Before I go, I would like to shout out channel membership holders once again. Thank you for your support for the channel. There is membership going on the channel, guys. If you click on the channel on the link, there is a link in the description. It will show you the types of membership we have on the channel. Please support. That's what is helping us move in the direction that we want. But you're most importantly, you showing up to these videos every day. Mine and
Yes.
Catherine's are Royal Australian, and showing your love and support. We truly, truly value you, and we don't take any one of you for granted. We don't.
No, no, no.
Mm.
And shout out. I mean, you're such a gracious host, Francis. You really keep it, you temper it, and I appreciate that because, yeah, it's easy to go down rabbit holes because of Harry and Meghan, but I love the way you host your lives. They're very tempered. So
Yeah.
hat tip to you, Francis.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Sheila, thank you. Guys, Aspi, everyone, all of you in here. We are missing Stedman. You've noticed Stedman is not around too, and a few others. I think they are busy, but they will find this live and join
Yeah.
us, comment somehow. I would also like to highlight the King's upcoming birthday parade. Don't miss
Oh,
it.
I can't wait.
Yes.
We'll be looking to you, Francis. We want your
Yes,
coverage.
yes, it's in the 14th coverage will start at around 10 o'clock in the morning before the parades kick off at 11:15. So expect me there somewhere with my
Oh,
stand.
fantastic.
Yeah, with the Catherine Princess of Wales. Give us a
I
wave.
know. Because you were
Yeah.
like last year. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what a fangirl. Francis,
Yeah.
Catherine, because
I know.
he was like this. The coach
Yes.
just went straight past him. Catherine, Princess of Wales.
Yes, yeah.
Our
And I was
Francis is such a
drenching because that,
fangirl.
yeah. And I was drenching because that day was rainy. It was raining cats and dogs from start to finish. But we all stood in there. My camera, good enough, I carried an umbrella, but the camera could get sort of, when water runs in front of the
Yeah.
camera and becomes blurry. So here was me wiping it, putting it back quickly, just not to miss the Catherine Princess of Wales drive past. And I'm
You're
Catherine
funny.
Princess of Wales. Everybody who has been in those areas where royals visit or pass at those moments will tell you the energies around those
Yeah.
places. Well, Catherine, you've been there before when you saw King Charles and Camilla at close
Oh,
range. You even
there's
shook
nothing like
Camilla's
it.
hand, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm, mm.
and the king, I got so close to him, I got a photo which I absolutely love, and he's looking at me straight into my camera. Oh my gosh, there's nothing like it, and I
Nothing.
envy you, but um, that doesn't mean I'm not coming next year. We'll see, but It's just a few personal things got in the
Yeah.
way and interrupted it. But
Yeah.
I can't wait for your lives and let's hook up.
Let's
I've
pick up
actually
again.
had I've looked in Sydney to see if there's any events, but there doesn't appear to be. And I'm thinking, oh, I think in future, after I've been to the trooping myself, I'm going to host some events and have, some, I don't know, dinner or street parade or something when the Trooping of the Colour is on in Australia
Yes,
so people
that
can
would be
come
nice.
because no
Yeah,
one's doing anything like that. And
yeah,
I don't want anyone taking my idea, but
yeah,
I was
yeah. That
thinking, oh,
would be a good
you could put on
idea.
an event.
Good
Yeah,
idea. Find somewhere, like,
yeah,
they
yeah,
decorate it with all the British
yes,
flags, and then with a screen there that is going to be showing the live event. That would be
yeah,
nice. Of course, it requires pre-planning, some
yes,
resources invested into it, but we could
yes.
support with that.
Well,
Um,
in
mm,
Balgowlah, where I used to live,
mm,
um, I lived there for about 20 years. That would be a good area to have a street parade there because they've got a very, very high concentration of English in
mm,
Balgowlah. Balgowlah, the British love Balgowlah. So, I lived there. I'm a dual citizen. So the best place to choose would be somewhere like that that's
mm,
already got the audience there. So
mm,
I
mm,
did think that. I thought, why are we not doing our own here in Sydney? You
mm.
know,
We need
we've got
to.
to have where people get out with their flags and, little kids dressed like the king or the queen. It's got to be something like that. So
Yeah,
we are
yeah.
looking for you for
We
your live coverage, Francis.
please, please, please do. And I think it might be very late at. Is it late at night at yours, or what time will it be?
It
Ah,
doesn't matter. I'll be watching it. I stayed
please,
up for
yeah. If it
the
means
Platinum
staying up
Jubilee.
with a cup of coffee, do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And my dear friends here who will be in London, it would be great to catch up for a cup
Thanks,
of
free
tea
speech.
in London. If you manage to come down to London on the day, we can catch up for a tea and give Catherine a wave somewhere. And yes, just literally catch up in real person if need be. But all your support is always appreciated. And being here with us on these live streams every night, we truly appreciate your support. We do. Right.
Okay, thank you. Good night. Good night,
Good
sweetie
night,
darling.
everybody.
Good work.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good dreams,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.